Have you ever noticed how you can learn something powerful, but a week later it feels like you've forgotten everything? That feeling when you know you've heard it before, but it just won't stick. It's frustrating, right? And the worst part? We often forget the lessons that can change our lives the most. Here's the truth. We forget lessons because of how our brain processes information. But don't worry, there's a way to make those lessons stick forever. Let's break it down with some psychology-backed insights. 1. The power of emotional connection. Have you ever learned something new and felt really inspired in the moment, only to forget it later? The problem is, we often forget because our brains don't form emotional connections to what we learn. Psychology calls this emotional resonance. Our brain remembers things that are tied to emotions, whether they're positive or negative. So if you want to make a lesson stick, create an emotional connection. Relate it to a real experience or something that excites you. The more emotionally charged the lesson, the stronger it sticks. 2. The forgetting curve. Here's something interesting. Within the first 24 hours, you'll forget up to 50% of what you've learned. Sounds scary, right? This phenomenon is called the forgetting curve. It's the brain's natural process of discarding information it doesn't think is important. But here's the hack. If you review what you've learned within the first 24 hours, you dramatically reduce that loss. You're essentially tricking your brain into thinking it needs to keep that lesson. So review early, and you'll see lasting results. 3. Spaced repetition. Now, let's talk about something called spaced repetition. It's the secret weapon that memory experts use. Instead of cramming all at once, break your learning into chunks and review it over time. Spaced repetition works because it keeps the lesson fresh in your mind and reinforces the neural pathways in your brain. It's like giving your brain little reminders that say, hey, this is important. And the more you review, the more it sticks. 4. Active recall versus passive learning. How often do you watch a video or read something without really engaging? We're all guilty of passively absorbing information, but active recall is the game changer. When you actively recall a lesson, meaning trying to remember what you've learned without looking at the material, it forces your brain to retrieve the information, and that retrieval strengthens your memory. So instead of just reading or watching, ask yourself questions. Try to teach what you've learned to someone else, or even test yourself. This will ensure those lessons stay locked in your mind. 5. Teach it to someone else. Here's a trick you've probably heard before, teaching. If you really want to make something stick, teach it to someone else. Teaching forces you to reorganize and reinforce the material in your mind. It helps you find gaps in your understanding and ensures that you've internalized the lesson. So, next time you learn something powerful, share it. Whether it's with a friend, a colleague, or even just writing about it. Teaching is a proven way to make sure you never forget what you've learned. So, what's the takeaway here? You're not doomed to forget every lesson you learn. With a little psychology-backed effort, emotional connection, review, active recall, and teaching, you can make sure that the lessons you want to remember actually stick. Start using these techniques, and you'll find yourself remembering the lessons that matter most. If you found this insight valuable, hit that like button, subscribe to Human Codex for more psychology-backed deep dives, and share this with someone who's looking to make their lessons stick. Catch you in the next one.